Laws regarding right-of-way, passing, speed, and driving, Part 2. Laws and guidelines regarding seatbelts. It is legally compulsory to use a seatbelt, hence doing so is not voluntary. Adults who aren't wearing seatbelts will be punished, and drivers will be held accountable for any minors riding in their car without the proper restraints for their age. This is true in every state, even though the specifics of the seatbelt regulation and the penalties for breaking it vary from state to state. Anyone driving or riding in a car without a seatbelt increases their risk of suffering injuries or dying in a collision. As a result, the nationwide Click It or Ticket program heavily promotes and enforces seatbelt laws. Unfortunately, the best-case situation if you don't buckle up is getting a ticket. The bottom line is that seatbelts save lives and must always be worn. Child restraint regulations cause a lot of uncertainty because they vary slightly from one state to the next. According to federal law, every kid who rides in a motor vehicle must be restrained in an approved car seat that is suitable for their age, size, and weight. Different developmental phases are addressed by different types of seats, including rear-facing, forward-facing, and booster seats. When picking and installing a child restrained, drivers must take into account both state regulations and the instructions provided by the car seat's manufacturer. Phone regulations. It is never a good idea to use a cell phone or other communication device while driving, regardless of the legislation. As a result of a driver being on the phone, texting, or otherwise distracted by their phone, an alarming amount of incidents and accidents occur. Many states have tighter cell phone rules for children than they do for adults because young drivers are more at risk than older drivers. The regulations governing cell phones and other wireless communication devices vary significantly from state to state, much like the majority of transportation laws do. Considering the degree of risk associated with each activity, more people are allowed to talk on the phone while using a hands-free system than while using a handheld device. In contrast to texting while driving, which is prohibited in most places, talking on the phone is generally tolerated. To learn more about the cell phone regulations in your area, consult your official driver's manual. Drivers who engage in inappropriate cell phone use while driving will be pulled over and issued a ticket. Dealing with enforcement of traffic laws. Even though it is such a crucial matter, most novice drivers do not give it much thought as to how they should act if a police officer pulls them over. You will undoubtedly be stopped by a police officer at some point in the future. It happens to everyone. The way you respond to getting pulled over will influence whether the contact is pleasant for all parties or whether it is tense and upsetting. The following guidelines should be kept in mind. Use your turn indicator or the proper hand signal to indicate that you will obey the officer. Roll down your window, put your hands on the wheel without holding anything else, and wait for the policeman to arrive. Do not reach or look for your driver's license, registration, or insurance paperwork unless you have first informed the officer of their location. If you receive a ticket for a moving violation, sign it and don't protest. If you feel the citation was unfairly issued, you will have the chance to contest it later. We also go over the many possible reasons why a police officer might stop you because it's not always because you've broken the law. Rules for risky driving circumstances. Contrary to popular belief, high-risk driving situations happen frequently. Most drivers frequently have to deal with limited sight, fast roads, or unfavorable traction. How frequently do you travel in severe weather, at night, on mountain routes, or on highways? There is no way to completely avoid being put in danger by other drivers' actions, even if you manage to stay out of all these high-risk circumstances. If you want to become a safe and responsible driver, you must learn to recognize dangers and hazards in any driving situation. Then, you must be aware of how to modify your actions in order to reduce these dangers. More crucial traffic laws. Teen drivers should be aware that their behavior in day-to-day living can have an impact on their ability to drive. Many states have rules that allows the suspension or deferral of the issuing of a minor's driving permit in cases where the minor displays subpar academic performance or behavior, illegally uses a firearm, or is found guilty of vandalism. Additionally, this section addresses driving practices that are always prohibited, such as littering, abandoning pets, stealing cars, and leaving a gas station without paying for gasoline. We also look at traffic laws and rules regarding behaviors that are prohibited in some jurisdictions or under some circumstances, like leaving kids in parked cars, riding in trailers, and moving freight. Make sure you are up to date with this knowledge to prevent unintentionally breaking the law.